Isn't it lovely getting to sit in your bell home as Hornet with a complete save file in Hollow Knight Silksong? As you can see by the massive spa, the Materium, and the Mementos in the background, this is a complete file in Act 3 of Hollow Knight Silksong. But I saw all of those Mementos on the wall, and I wondered, how possible would it be to get them in Act 2 or 1 of Silksong? Hello everyone, I am Kilroy Was Here, and I am here today as the guy who wants to break open Silksong, but also who wants to find just any possible way to do things in an unintended order. And as I found while researching this video, it is very possible to get many of the Mementos in Act 2. And while some of them aren't possible, and some of them are seemingly always going to be impossible, I am very happy to present all the information I have to see if we can make discoveries in the future to make them possible. I have my complete Materium, my almost complete Materium, ignore that, and I have all 8 Mementos on this file, so I'm going to go through each of them and explain how feasible it is to get these in Act 2 or 1 of Silksong. And we begin all of this with the Sprint Master Memento. Now this Memento is normally granted by beating the Sprint Master at his 4th race, but that 4th race is only unlocked after getting the Everboom, and we cannot get that until we're in Act 3, so sadly, there's an X for that one. Next would be the Guardian's Memento, which I will show is almost possible, but likely will never actually be possible due to certain circumstances behind it, and I'll show you in this video. The Hero's Memento is gotten by beating Lost Garmond, and he does not exist in Act 2, so you cannot get that Memento, period, I am sad to say, unless we find a way to break the quest system open, but that is very far off. The Hunter's Memento is in a similar spot. Even if we can no-clip and fight certain enemies, we cannot fight all of them that only spawn in Act 3, unfortunately. But after the Hunter's Memento, we have one that I love, the Gray Memento, and I love it because it's fully achievable using no glitches in Act 2 and possibly even in Act 1, so I'm going to show you how to do so in this video. And after the Gray Memento is one that I also love, but pains me a little, the Surface Memento, extremely close to getting achievable with no clips, but as of right now, there is one little problem that makes it unachievable. I have already shown in a previous video that you can get the Craw Memento in Act 2 using no clips. I'll go over it briefly in this video as well, but just know, fully achievable to get this on your mantle. And the last one is the Conjoined Heart, or any other heart, which is sadly fully impossible to get because we do not have the song you need to enter the memories. It's the reason why we can't complete this game in Act 2 right now. But hey, I'm going to start from the beginning and show you why it's very close but not possible to go and get Seth's Memento. If you've ever watched one of my videos in the past, you'd be very familiar with what I'm setting up now. But in case you hadn't, I am currently setting up a no-clip glitch by using a Silk Eater at the last moment of Grandmother Silk's boss fight. Now why am I doing this? I am doing this to get to Seth in an easy way. Now it is possible to get to Seth's boss fight without utilizing glitches in Act 2. However, I am not amazing at the speedrun skip method that lets you get to Seth. So I'm just going to show you the path there by using this no-clip glitch, and it is important that we get to Seth because beating him is the first step to getting his Memento. Now, the best path to get to him by activating this no-clip glitch requires you to come over here and take the elevator over to the Grand Bellway. Once you are at the Grand Bellway, you can obviously access the Bellway station, and this will let you teleport over to the Blasted Steps, which will get you to the Grand Gate. However, if you are in a no-clip state and you want to use the Bellway, you have to be careful because you can lose all control if you don't do it correctly. Now, whenever you land at the area you fast travel to, make sure to spam pause so that you get re-given control of Hornet. And after pressing pause enough, you can sprint and you will no longer be sent hurtling upwards forever. At this point, the path is very simple to get to the Grand Gate because you can just walk through everything. Note that while you are in this state of no clip, that if you fall into hazards, like the worms that deal damage in this area, you will lose this state, so be sure to avoid them. Otherwise, it's very simple to float above and through all hazards, and this will let you go to the area where Seth is. And going to the area where Seth is, which is normally Act 3 exclusive, gives you access not only to Seth, but to the heart that he is guarding, theoretically. I'm going to show you why that doesn't work in practice. But now that we are at Grand Gate, getting to Seth, you would normally be able to just jump up here if you were in Act 3 and had Silksong, but we don't have to worry about that because we defy the laws of physics. And that means we can go down here and we can break open the path to Seth right here. But if we don't even really care about doing it that way either, maybe we don't have a double jump in your playthrough of this game, then you can just go down, go to the left here, and open up the shortcut by passing through it entirely. And now, I'm going to get rid of no clip and go fight Seth. It is a wonderful thing getting to fight Seth before Act 3 comes, because he's one of my favorite fights in the game. However, as anyone who has beaten Act 3 knows, you don't get the Guardian's Memento immediately upon beating Seth. No, you get it after Seth goes all the way to Fleetopia. And unfortunately, the trigger for Seth to move around Farloom and eventually get to Fleetopia is beating Nylith. Which means that even though we can get to Seth and we can beat him in combat, it is impossible for us to get his memento until we can beat Nylith. And much like why the heart memento is locked off, this memento will be locked off until we can find a way to get the hearts in Act 2. So let's move on from this one and go to our next memento. Much like the Guardian Memento, I had also put a question mark around the Surface Memento. However, this one is far more feasible to get in Act 2, in my opinion, and I'm going to show you why. So, initially, I had thought the path that exists to get to the surface was simply unreachable in Act 2, and that would make getting to the surface in Act 2 fully impossible. However, I was proven wrong. It is true that there is nothing above the cradle if you go to fight Grandmother Silk in Act 2 of this game. However, that doesn't mean you can't get to the surface in Act 2, because the entire path that leads to the surface in Act 3 of Silksong isn't through the cradle directly. It starts through this room in the Coral Chambers and requires you to have Silksong. And that means, even though this is Act 2 and this room should be entirely different, there is, in fact, the path to the surface loaded in Act 2. By going up to this area with the no-clip glitch active, and by simply moving to the left, you will see, very shortly, that this entire area that normally would only exist in Act 3 exists in Act 2. You even see that downwards facing area where you would normally be expected to Silksong. Sadly, this is the farthest I could go now though, because if you don't know about upward facing loading zones while no clip is active, let's just say they don't really mix. What you are seeing right now is a total loss of control of Hornet. I cannot pause, I cannot do anything else. So, we can get in the rooms that would lead up to Pale Nails, to Mr. Mushroom, and to the surface, and that would let us get the surface memento. However, we can only get there right now with no clip, and because we can only get there with no clip, we cannot go through the upwards loading zone that would let us get to the surface. If we can find a way to deactivate no clip or to go through upwards loading zones with no clip, we can get the surface memento. So this is close to get, but not possible as of this moment in time. I won't do a massive retreading with the Craw memento. You can get no clip, you can come to this room, you can go down into their room, and pretty much take everything you want from there, even though it's only Act 2. The power of no clip is truly strong. And not only can you get the Craw memento, this means that you can go down in Act 2 and get the most important item you could possibly get. One of the best sources of rosary beads in Hollow Knight Silksong, the one and only Craw Bell. And then beyond that, you can go down, have fun beating the crap out of the Craw Father, because beating the boss is what actually gives you the memento from them, absolving all of the crimes that you have not yet committed against them. But yeah, simple as that, no clip into their room, kill them, and this is our first legitimate memento in Act 2. And finally, the other memento you can get in Act 2 is the Watcher's memento, which you would get from the Watcher at the Edge if you had Silksong to go up here. Sadly, that is an Act 3 ability. Unsadly, we have something called Volt Pogoing. If you get the Volt Vessels and the Delver's Drill, you can gain vertical height as long as you continue to pogo down off of your own projectiles. Unfortunately for everyone watching right now, I'm doing a terrible job showcasing this, because I am not good at this skill. So you know what, you can see me getting a successful one here a bit, but I'm actually just going to cut to when I get this trick done right, because I don't want to use glitches to do this. This is the only memento you can get in Act 2 with no glitches, so I'm going to do it right. There you have it, simple as that. It was way less complicated than I was making it out to be. And why not end this off with a Silk Eater to get back my Silk and not immediately die to the Watcher? Because once you make it up here, all you have to do to get the Watcher's memento is defeat him in combat. Now that is not necessarily as easy as it would be in Act 3, because obviously you have access to a lot less power, a lot less defense, and just less tools in Act 2. Or even Act 1, because I believe you can get up here in Act 1 if you are skilled enough. But I am going to beat him anyway, and I will show you a bit of that fight. Even with the missing tools, the nail damage, and everything else from Act 3, you can get through the Watcher fight with relative ease as long as you keep yourself collected, because he is not the most difficult enemy to dodge. And by defeating him, we have made it here entirely legitimately without abusing any glitches in the game, and we have gotten the Gray Memento from the Watcher. So, this is the only memento right now that you can get by doing no glitches at all in Act 2, which is a pretty cool thing to do if you want to impress your friends who definitely know how important this is in Hollow Knight Silksong. But yeah, at this point, the only really achievable mementos in Act 2 are this Gray Memento and the Craw's Memento, which you can get through glitches. I have shown how the other two are theoretically possible, and I would love to find them being possible in the future. The 4 others I mentioned at the beginning being fully impossible, I'd love to see them get finished as well. But as of right now, it's time for Hornet to return to her fully completed home and rest off with the knowledge that she has done all she can for mementos. Whew, long day for Hornet, going around trying to break the game's progression system open. But at least now she can rest knowing she's gotten all mementos on this file. And wait, what is that one? I've never seen that memento before. Why is it... Oh no, what's going on? Hornet